We're talking about the hog mollies today as we go into this defensive interior class and we look at the cream of the crop of the best of the best. We're going over a top 15 in the 2022 NFL draft class. But what's crack-a-lacking? It's your boy Baroshmo, just in case you did not know. So go ahead, become a bro and subscribe. Hit that stupid button. Hit the thumbs up while you're at it. Come on, show a little love to your boy. And let me know what you think in the comment section below. I got other ranking videos on the channel and I got a few more to pump out. So go ahead, take a look at that. No highlights, by the way. Always get hit with a copyright. And listen, your boy gotta make money somehow. Let's go ahead and do the nitty gritty. At 15, I got Neal Farrell Jr. out of LSU. This is a big boy at 6'4", 338, but he doesn't have the length you would expect at being 6'4". It's something you're just gonna have to live with, but this dude is a penetrator. He's got legit get off and quicks for a man that size. Plays with a big motor. Big man playing with a big motor. Legit pocket pusher. Strong hands. Delivers strikes with a lot of force. There are notable lower body injuries from like the 2019 and 2020 season. Wasn't an issue this past year. He does have trouble disengaging versus in the run game. A lot of that is length. But and he's not too disciplined in terms of like stuff. And this guy wants to get into the backfield and he sometimes like runs by ball carriers. So more so he's probably going to be someone you want to use in the passing game as a penetrating nose tackle. Good prospect though. Put out good production for LSU this past year. At number 14, I have Haskell Garrett out of Ohio State. So he was a surprise like return. A lot of people thought he would have declared after the 2020 season, where he actually saw the most snaps of his career at 307. He returns, being now one of the older prospects in this class. I think he's about 24. And he had an all right year, not too bad. 5 sacks, 17 pressures, but it wasn't the same season he had in 2020 where he had like, I think it was the second or third highest win rate of any interior player not named Christian Barmore. Just didn't find the same amount of success. You look at that 5 sacks and you're like, ooh, but he had 3 sacks against Akron. So outside of that, those would be pretty pedestrian numbers. Against the run, he's very good at recognizing what opposing offensive linemen are doing. He's got pretty great hands, good agility, just lacks that power. He does sometimes have a light anchor and he'll be the one bent back rather than doing the back breaking, if you know what I mean. I put him down as another penetrator. This is a guy that can shoot upfield, and he just needs to find more ways to win. You would think with a guy at this age, he would have a bit different ways to win. It's just, I don't think it's going to be with power, but he's pretty active. Again, he's got good gap discipline. Like I said, laterally, he's pretty fine. He can go with the flow and force play to the outside, force a run play to the outside, but there'll be times where he's just a total non-factor in the game in general. I think much like his early days there at, well, you could even say this season, he's going to be more of a rotation guy when he gets to the NFL, but I think it's a role that he can do at a high level. At number 13, I got Eric Johnson, and if you're not new to the channel, you know this is my boy. He first came on my radar at the NFLPA Bowl, where he had one hell of a week and ended with a fairly solid game where he had 4 pressures and a sack. Got an invite to the Senior Bowl the night before, flew out there, and he looked pretty solid. He had probably the most fun rep of any of the defensive linemen, where he tried a fake spin, tried it, didn't work out, but he's got some good twitch to him. He was a 5th-year starter at Missouri State. Saw some starting time, a little bit of it in 2020, but he really had the breakout year this past season where he had 31 pressures and 2 sacks. The 34-inch arms. You love to see length like that. Very twitchy rusher. He's very good at turning speed into power. He's good at getting leverage. But there are times where he can play high at 6'4" and struggle to gain that leverage. But when he gets it, he gets it. Does have one of the more fierce bull rushes in this class. At his size, probably projects as a gap penetrator, a 3 tech. You could have him out at 5 tech too. I'm not opposed to that. I think there's that body. With that body, he's got a bit of versatility. Quick first step. 4 blocked kicks in his career. That's funny. I like that. I like that a lot. But fact of the matter is, he sits here at 168 on my big board because he's a late bloomer and he did it at a low level competition. So that does kind of hurt him, but he is definitely a my guy. At 12, I got John Ridgeway out of Arkansas, and he, for all intents and purposes, unfortunately, I'm just saying it, he's a bit of a boring player. He is a guy that takes up a lot of space, and he's an obstacle. He's a mountain of a man. He's a mountain against the run game. Like, he is just gonna clog holes by virtue of just being there. But former transfer from Illinois State. So, I love a guy going from lower competition to a Power 5 school. I love that. Big bodied, good strength. Actually a former wrestler. Got some strong hands. Nice long frame too. Almost got the 34-inch arms. Not that you need 34 inches. That's just impressive. But 33 and 5th ace. That's pretty darn solid. And he does a good job at kind of like dictating the offensive line. Dictating where he essentially forcing where the run will go. Like I said, he's gonna probably be this early down guy. It's just he doesn't do much in the passing game. He just doesn't. I mean, 11 pressures, 2 sacks. Just he doesn't have many pass rush moves. Doesn't have burst to him at a guy that's 6'5", 327. Color me surprised, but at 6'5" also struggles to get low. Guys at that height, it's tough. It's tough getting that low and then staying that low. But he's gonna be one of these big body power run defenders on early downs. That's kind of his role, and there is a spot in the NFL for that. And that's why I could probably see him going somewhere in the middle of day 3. 11, I got the UCLA big boy, Otito Ogbonnia. This cat, honestly, he edges out Ridgeway just because he is the pass rush version of Ridgeway. He doesn't necessarily do what you want him to do in the run game, but as a pass rusher, you might have to watch out. He's got a long frame, good full body strength. He's actually a former track and field star, shot putter, strong hands, and he's actually really quick on his get off. But you will see noticeable struggles for him in the run game. His anchor could be a bit inconsistent, and his technique, it is everywhere. Like, he could definitely, like, for as strong hands as he has, he could put those hands to better use and get in under the pads and actually using leverage. But again, I kind of value the pass rushing aspect a little bit more because, I mean, I don't think Ridgeway is going to suddenly, at this point in his career, find burst. While Otito, I do believe, can develop into a very good run defender. But big fan, gotta show love to the big nose tackles here, because we're about to take a big jump up on my big board. At 10, I got Eyioma Uwazurike. Hell yeah. This cat is awesome. He played so many different roles there for the Cyclones. Like, he has over 300 snaps at nose tackle, over 400 snaps in the B gap, 600 some playing 5 tech, and then a large majority of his snaps actually came on the outside of tackles. So yeah, they used him in a hell lot of different ways, and he produced 43 pressures this past season, 9 sacks. He plays with good strength, and he keeps his eyes always in the backfield. This guy, he can take up 2 blockers at once. So, like, legit, he could be a 2-gap and nose tackle if you want him to be. I kind of like the idea of putting him at 5 tech, but this guy could play a variety of different roles. That's why I put down Nick Williams, another guy that could play a variety of different roles. He's got good strength in his hands. I just kind of wish, like, he did more. I feel like he swings his hands any which way rather than swinging with purpose. So that's something, you know, he could definitely get better at. Maintaining leverage, especially in the run game. There's a lot of plays you'll see this cat just on the ground. Whether it's like shifting his leverage to make a move to the sideline on the ground. Like, he just got to get better at that. But he's got sick length, good explosiveness. You just don't expect from a guy at his size. 35-inch arms, ridiculous. I'm a big fan of Uwazurike. We literally jumped 30 spots, and we're about to jump another 30 with number 9. And number 9 is in fact Matthew Butler out of Tennessee, coming here at 111. I'm a big fan of this cat. He had a good Shrine Bowl where he essentially just looked like the most explosive defensive line player there. This dude wreaked havoc this past season in opposing backfields. He has a very nice first step, and he's surprisingly actually decently flexible. I mean, there were times where he lined up on the outside or just coming off stunts. Like, he can be real bendy, which if you're gonna be like sub 300 and stay on the interior, then you better have a little bit of twitch to you. And good thing is, he has a lot. He can be relentless. This guy's got a non-stop motor, because there are some times where he doesn't hit home. He gets stuck. He gets engaged on blockers, and that's the cool thing is, like, sometimes it's not bad if you're a late to the party, life of the party type of guy. At least on the interior, you want to see that motor, because you're not going to be consistent. It's not like you're Aaron Donald. You ain't going to be consistently hitting home like that. There are a few guys that even come close to that. So for all intents and purposes, I love his penetrating ability, but having that motor, that non-stop quit in you, goes, I think, even further. Don't know if he'll be much of a factor in the run game. Like I said, he does get stuck on blocks. The play strength, bit questionable. Again, you kind of want him maybe over 300. But yeah, like, and he's kind of a one move guy. If he doesn't win initially right off the outset, then he does get tangled up. But again, luckily, he's got that non-stop motor. Had a hell of a year, 31 pressures, 5 sacks. This cat's a good player. Moving to number 8, I got Thomas Booker, a guy I really anticipated to be a late riser, just because I felt like he was used just not to his fullest at Stanford. He kind of played all over the defensive line, and yeah, he's got good versatility to him, but I think you just stick this cat at 3 tech, because physically he is very gifted. Ran under 5 seconds on the 40, 31 in the bench. I think that was third, tied for third most in this class, so very impressive. 110 in the broad. Had a pretty solid 3 cone, especially for interior players. He hits that 33-inch threshold, so you love to see it, man. He's got a lot of lower body strength, and I think he shows decent explosiveness. But again, being Stanford, they're kind of like the West Coast Georgia, if you will, which I guess that might change now that Georgia's defensive coordinator is at Oregon. But at Stanford, they preach run contain, run contain, run contain. So he doesn't have too many pass rush moves to his arsenal. Not a lot of hand counters. If he's gonna win, he likes to win early. But again, you love the versatility. At least knowing that he can do that. He's a bit more than just a space eater in the run game. Hits with a lot of pop. Again, that 31 bench. It ain't a joke. But there are times where he just loses at the point of attack. And getting, I think, more of a consistent anchor will go a long way, because there are times where he does get moved in the run game. He gets swayed, if you will, by blockers. So I know he's strong enough. He's got I know he can do it. Just kind of hold your own. Throw down the anchor, I guess, if you would say. But I do like this cat a lot. I got him at 108. Darn good prospect. Really wish he went to the Senior Bowl. I ended up going to the Shrine Bowl, which I don't even know why. It made me sad. I'm just going to say that. It made me sad. At number 7, Phidarian Mathis out of Alabama just sneaks into my top 100. And it seemed like everything came together for Mathis in the 2020 season, where he had 18 pressures and 3 sacks. And then he went on to have an impressive season where he had 25 pressures and 7 sacks. He's got prototypical size and great length for the interior. Really can work in whatever scheme you want him to. He's got that body type. He is a bit of an older prospect, and he was a man beating up on boys. But hey, if you're going to be that, then you better look like it. And he looked like it. Like, he was pretty solid in the run game. And how he wins is with, he's a penetrator. Like, this guy wins with a very violent, he's very violent at the point of attack, and he tries to get to the point of attack fairly early, but his hands are so good at stacking and shedding guys. Plays with a good motor, gets low too. Like, it's limbo. How low can he go? Well, Mathis, he can get down low. Not too many pass rush moves or hand counters. Like I said, he tries to win early, and you kind of saw that at the Senior Bowl in the some of the one-on-ones. Where I think it was Luke Fortner kind of like shut him down. Like, if he doesn't win from the onset, and then it's almost he's dead in the water. And he's a very linear guy. There's not a lot of lateralness to his game, but nonetheless, he's a cat that is pro ready now. Throw him into a rotation, and you are good to go. And then number 6, DeMarvin Leal out of Texas A&M, a cat that a lot of people had as a top 10 player. And during the second half of the season, things kind of unraveled, where I would say he put on some bad weight because he was starting to play on the interior more, and he just didn't show the same type of juice, same type of twitch on the interior. I mean, often, he didn't know what to do with double teams. He get with a double team, it was like, all right, ta-ta, bye-bye. And just the production did go down. And then during the right before Christmas, actually, he has I put here a misdemeanor drug charge. It was literally like a small little bag of marijuana. Like, again, it's kind of not even a big deal. Something you would get caught back in high school with. So boneheaded mistake. I'm not worried about it. But something you need to bring up. But he mainly lined up on the outside for Texas A&M the last 2 seasons. Again, during the later half of the year, played a bit more on the interior. And that's why, I kind of bounced this guy from interior to edge. And I think I'm just going to settle on him being in the interior. But this dude has legit movement skills. Like, legit. For a guy that played at 290, came in weighing at 283, he can move. Even though it did at at his pro day, it just didn't seem to be. I don't know, man. The numbers didn't match what I saw on tape, and a lot of that could be maybe reminiscent back to 2020. But what didn't change was he uses his hands so stinking well. He just does, and this cat. His hands are active and they're precise, and he's got a quick first step for a guy weighing 283. It's just sad. I mean, it's kind of tough to figure out where these guys will these tweeners, if you will, where, depending on how you view them. I put a versatile base 4-3 end. because I think you could probably play him early on the outside, and then maybe on third downs kick him to the interior. He's just a guy you can't have on the interior primarily, and that's just the unfortunate truth of the matter. So I feel like tweeners kind of get lost in the draft, and typically if you're a tweener, you're going to the third round. It's kind of the place where we see guys like that, like Cameron Sample was a guy last year. So here he is, 76 on my big board. And then at number 5, I have the other tweener in this class, being Logan Hall. You might be like, why do you have him rated higher? And quite simply, the production was better this year, and he tested out a hell of a lot better than Leal. It's just the case. Ended the year with 7 sacks, 30 pressures, ran under 490 in the 40. Outside of that, the numbers looked good. He mainly played 3 tech back in 2020 next to Peyton Turner. Thought he may get more snaps on the outside. Didn't really end up happening to fruition. He ended up mainly staying on the interior. But the dude's got a hell of a he's twitchy. He's twitchy. He's got a long body at 6'6". Then he's got the 33-inch wingspan. He actually has a pretty mean pop to his hands. Like, he actually has some of the most fierce bull rushes in this class, and he actually stems a lot of good counters off of that bull rush. Pretty quality, very unique body type, and he plays with a big motor, and that's exactly what you want to see in a tweener. That's why he's sitting here at 64 and not 76, like DeMarvin Leal. Now, you will worry about him getting low and getting consistent leverage. Just being 6'6", that's always going to be a concern. And I don't think he's a guy that can play on the interior primarily. That's why I got versatile 3 tech, 5 tech listed here. Because if he can't disengage, the dude does not have an anchor. The longer he has to stay at the point of attack or stay engaged with a blocker, then the odds of him winning that rep go down significantly. But having such a good pass rushing upside, especially seeing it there at Houston, unique body type, some team's going to look at him and be like, we could use some of that. At number 4, I got Perrion Winfrey out of Oklahoma. He was actually a former JUCO transfer who just emerged back in 2020 for Oklahoma. He's got a very explosive first step, and he plays very twitchy. He kind of played out of place for Oklahoma. Like, he was taking some snaps at nose tackle. Actually, a lot of them. But the dude's got incredible length. 35-inch arms. Literally looks like freaking Batman when he brings up, holding up his cape. Just it's ridiculous length. And he's got legit power behind him. Combining that with an explosive get off, it's just a scary combination. Plays with a high motor. Legit chased down running backs at times this past season. And you know what? He tested out like it. So good on you, my friend. I did put here production limited by what Oklahoma kind of schemed up for him. Because if you go back to 2020, he didn't have a sack at all in the 2020 season, but he had 27 pressures. Followed it up with this year where he had 29 pressures, 6 sacks, and then had a banger of a Senior Bowl week. Like, he probably had one of the best win rates of anybody here. He can play a bit out of control and a bit off balance. I put bull in a china shop. Just kind of explains it there. Thinner lower half, definitely. So you might want to put maybe more. I don't know. Maybe he's just not gifted with the genes of having thick thighs. But 290. I think he was up to 303 at the Senior Bowl, and I probably prefer if he plays at that weight. But I definitely thought of Mike Neal, if y'all remember him. I think he came out of, I know he went to Green Bay. I think he came out of, was it Auburn? I'm pretty confident it was Auburn. Oh, what? I literally typed in Mike Auburn. I could be getting that wrong. Purdue. All I can remember was Green Bay, but it was weird because when Mike Neal came into the league, he was actually used a lot on the interior, and then eventually grew into like a guy that played primarily on the outside for Green Bay before his career got kind of cut short. But I think Winfrey, I would be surprised if he kind of had the same career trajectory, where a guy that maybe plays inside a little bit but ends up being this guy that plays on the outside. It would not surprise me one bit. At number 3, I have Travis Jones sitting at 35 on my big board. And now we get into the big 3 of this defensive interior class. And Travis Jones, much like I put Fale Fatukasi here, another UConn alum. I really, these are just big boys with good get off and sick hands. Like, Jones doesn't have a ton of pass rush moves. He doesn't. How he wins though is just, he's got great length and he's just stupid strong, and he gets out of his get off is very impressive for being 326, which it shouldn't surprise you. He's got like 13% body fat. It's kind of ridiculous. And he's a very disciplined player at that too. Especially in the run game, he could stack shed. He could sway gaps. Like, the dude is good in that regard. If we're gonna nitpick again, doesn't have a lot of pass rush moves. Very raw in that area. But at that size, I don't really think you necessarily have to. You're just gonna dominate based on I'm big, I'm quick, and I'm strong. Guess what? That's a winning combination. I heard it here first. This was brought up by Dane Brugler as I was reading, went back, and you could kind of see it. Like, if he doesn't win initially, that the longer he stays engaged, the taller he gets and loses leverage. And I kind of talked about that a bit earlier in the video, but that's kind of if we're nitpicking. I think at the end of the day, the biggest thing is he doesn't got a lot of pass rush moves, but doesn't really need them. Dude has a hot motor. He's strong. He's quick. He's big. Sign me up. At number 2, Devonte Wyatt, and he's inside the top 20 for me. You might be like, he's an older prospect, but he's pro ready. You could literally throw this guy on an NFL field tomorrow and be happy about it. If you're a team that thinks, hey, we're in contention, we can compete, this is your guy. Let's talk about the big red flag being, he had dropped misdemeanors back in 2020. And it was, what was it? It was family violence, which sounds a little threatening. We'll get to it. Trespassing, which is kind of weird. We'll get to it. And destruction of private property, which he kicked a hole through a wall. It's kind of legit. So it was basically, he was living with, like, off campus, I think, or no, it wasn't off campus, but he was living with a girl, I assume was his girlfriend at the time. They got in an argument and he kicked a hole in the wall. Cops got called and they were like, hey, what's up? So they basically considered, since they were, it's super weird because since he wasn't, like, his name wasn't on the apartment, it was considered trespassing. But since he was living with her, like cohabitating, it was considered family violence. It's super weird. I mean, I guess it's not that weird. I mean, people do that nowadays, but it's a super weird situation. And I can understand why the charges got dropped, like destruction of private property. That's kind of legit. But the other stuff was like, I don't know. It's kind of goofy. Coach, like the coaching staff and Wyatt, they've talked a lot about how he's grown from that issue and how he was very took the consequences, and they really preach about this guy's character. So for me, again, I don't think much of a concern. I mean, to be fair, there's a Georgia prospect with a way bigger red flag right now. So this, take it as you will. Anyway, he was initially academically ineligible and had to go play at JUCO before actually going to Georgia. Legit, probably the most explosive guy on the interior here. Like, if Jordan Davis, spoiler alert, Jordan Davis is one spot ahead of him. If he didn't have the combine he had, we'd be talking about Wyatt as the top interior guy in this class, in my opinion. Like, I in the past, I've talked about this Arkansas game where he jumped, he tried to time the snap and he jumped a bit early and he was going back to get it into position. Arkansas, they call hike. So he's laid off the line, still ends up being the first guy there. He basically manhandles, I believe it was the guard. It wasn't Rick Stromberg, it was the guard. Manhandles the guard. Running back takes a look and is like, I don't want a piece of that. So he kind of like does want to, like, he basically just steps to the side and he hits the hell out of poor KJ Jefferson. Just nasty. Ended up finishing the season with 29 pressures, 4 sacks. Dude's got a legit motor, legit twitch, legit bend, and you like to see that at 309. Really think you could fit this guy wherever you want in any scheme that you want. We know he's got power to the game, being a team that preaches run contain first. Like, he held up very well in the SEC. It's just he doesn't deploy a lot of power moves, so maybe something he can throw into his game as he gets to the NFL, and maybe be more I guess I would say efficient with his hands. Like, he's got active hands. It's just more about how he uses them. And I think that's probably why he stays away from a lot of the power moves. Because there are times where he doesn't always hit home, or at least can get inside the strike zone of a blocker. But hey, if you could throw that hand on that shoulder, he's gonna send you flying with a nasty rip move. But Wyatt's pretty darn good prospect. Actually, I'm pretty happy with the comp as well. And then Jordan Davis, he's 16 on my big board, number 1 here in my rankings. The dude's just a unicorn. Guys at 341, at 6'6", 341, aren't supposed to test out the way he did. 123 in the broad, 32 in the vert, 478 in the flippin' 40 is ridiculous. Listen, he's got the upside to be a phenomenal pass rusher, like difference maker in that regard. He's just very raw in that aspect, and I don't think you saw it nearly enough this year for Georgia. There will be the durability concerns, as he only had 4 games where he played more than 30 snaps all year last year, which means 10 of those games he was playing less than that. I mean, I think there was probably about half of those games he played less than 20 snaps. So there are going to be questions to his durability. You could go back to the SEC championship game against Alabama, where Alabama legit, just to keep him in the game, they employed the hurry up offense, and you could legitimately see just Davis just standing tall, standing up, hands on his hips, trying to get his breath. I mean, that will be a concern, but to be fair, that was a concern also for Dexter Lawrence coming out of Clemson a couple of years ago, and he ended up being a 3-down player just fine. So again, there is that. But again, this dude, unseen range, unseen speed and explosiveness for a guy this size. His strength is ludicrous, his size is ludicrous. You're just kind of betting. You're getting a phenomenal run, stop, and nose tackle, and you're just kind of betting that some way, somehow, that he will develop into a fierce pass rusher. But that's it for the video. Go ahead, do the YouTube thing. It's always much appreciated, much obliged. And as always, until next time, you be easy, my friends. Later.